a quiet crisis is unfolding across America's heartland. U.S. milk exports, once a symbol of American agricultural strength, are in dramatic freefall. This isn't just a problem for farmers, it threatens rural economies and global food supply chains. The image of milk being dumped is a stark sign of an industry at a tipping point. From Wisconsin to Texas, family farms that once fed the world now face a perfect storm of economic pressures and global competition. The global marketplace, once full of promise, has turned treacherous for American dairy. The consequences ripple from grocery store prices to international relations. This is a human story of resilience, struggle, and survival. Farmers gather in diners, worried about falling prices and uncertain futures. Industry leaders scramble to navigate trade disputes and market barriers. As the dairy industry falters, the fabric of rural America begins to unravel. The stakes are high. A weakened U.S. dairy sector affects not just our economy, but food security worldwide. The decisions made now will determine if America's dairy farmers survive this storm, or are swept away by it. American dairy's global journey began with a shift from domestic focus to international ambition. For decades, U.S. dairy served mostly Americans, with exports as an afterthought. But the 21st century brought new technology, milk powders, whey proteins, and shelf-stable products, making global shipping possible. Rising incomes in Asia and Latin America fueled demand for dairy. The industry invested in export infrastructure and marketing, transforming its outlook. Organizations like the U.S. Dairy Export Council broke down trade barriers and built new markets. By the early 2020s, the U.S. exported the equivalent of a day's milk production every week. This boom brought prosperity, but also new risks. Farmers' fortunes now depended on global trends and foreign policies. The industry became vulnerable to economic downturns, currency swings, and geopolitical tensions. What was once a strength, global reach, became a liability as the world market turned unpredictable. The rapid expansion set the stage for today's crisis. Now, the same global stage that fueled growth threatens the industry's future. The lesson, success abroad can quickly turn to risk at home. The U.S. dairy story is now one of both ambition and vulnerability. The numbers are stark. As of Q3 2025, U.S. dairy exports are down 18% in volume and 25% in value from last year, the sharpest drop in a decade. Non-fat dry milk exports have plunged 22%, cheese exports 15%. Southeast Asia, once a growth engine, is down over 20% due to local slowdowns and fierce competition. Exports to Mexico, our top partner, have dropped 10% as buyers turn to Europe and South America. It feels like the floor has dropped out, says a Wisconsin dairy co-op official. Just last year, farmers were expanding to meet global demand. Now they're managing a massive surplus. A USDA analyst calls it a perfect storm. A strong dollar, retaliatory tariffs, and competition from New Zealand and the EU. U.S. dairy export value, once over $9.5 billion, is on track to fall below $7 billion this year. The domestic market can't absorb the loss. With milk production still high, oversupply is driving farm prices below the cost of production. The result? A brutal equation. When the world stops buying, American farmers pay the price. The crisis is not just about numbers, it's about livelihoods on the line. The export collapse is pushing family farms to the brink. The industry faces a reckoning it can't ignore. The crisis extends far beyond the farm. When farmers lose income, local businesses suffer. Equipment dealers, vets, feed suppliers all feel the pinch. Rural communities built around agriculture face economic strain and job losses. In Washington, lawmakers debate subsidies, surplus purchases, and new trade deals, but gridlock deepens uncertainty. The cost to the economy is huge. Lost jobs, shuttered farms, and weakened rural economies. Consumers may see lower milk prices now, but long-term, fewer farms mean less competition and higher prices. The social fabric of rural America is at risk. Family farms are more than businesses. They're a way of life. Losing a farm means losing a heritage, and communities feel the loss deeply. Empty barns and overgrown fields are stark reminders of what's at stake. The crisis is eroding both the economic foundation and the identity of America's dairy heartland. The void left behind is hard to fill. To understand the crisis, listen to those living it. In Wisconsin, John Miller, a third-generation farmer, says, "We invested everything. Now the price doesn't cover our feed bill. We're sinking into debt." In California, Maria Flores runs a dairy with her family. We work hard, follow the rules, but can't compete with subsidized imports or sudden tariffs. We just want a level playing field. The mental toll is immense. Constant stress, fear of losing a legacy, and isolation. Rural support groups report rising anxiety and depression among farmers. You feel like a failure, one farmer confides. You see the farm your family built, and you might lose it. These voices reveal the human cost. Families facing impossible choices, stewards of the land feeling abandoned by global markets. Their resilience is being tested to the limit. Their plea: remember the people behind the products and recognize that farm survival is vital for food security and rural heritage. The crisis is not just economic, it's deeply personal. Every lost farm is a lost story, a lost future. Farmers are asking for understanding, not charity. They want fair competition and a chance to survive. The nation's food security depends on their survival. Their struggle is America's struggle. The export plunge is driven by powerful global forces. A strong US dollar makes American dairy more expensive abroad, pushing buyers to cheaper options from New Zealand or Europe. The EU, free from production quotas, is ramping up exports with government support. New Zealand dominates Asia with efficient production and smart trade deals. US producers are squeezed between these giants. Trade disputes have led to retaliatory tariffs, prompting buyers to diversify away from US suppliers. Even after tariffs ease, trust and market share are slow to return. Many countries now focus on food self-sufficiency, investing in their own dairy sectors. The pandemic exposed supply chain vulnerabilities, accelerating this trend. The global market is no longer a reliable growth engine for US dairy. Experts describe the crisis as three waves hitting at once: oversupply, weak demand, and fierce competition. Dr. Emily Carter explains, US milk production keeps rising, but key markets are buying less, and rivals are fighting harder for every sale. Asian buyers now want high-value, specialized products, cheeses, whey proteins, not just bulk milk powder. Europe has outpaced the US in marketing these niche products. Trade policy is critical. Without free trade agreements, US products face higher tariffs and lose out to competitors. Access is everything, says a former trade negotiator. We're falling behind. There's no single fix. Experts call for a multi-pronged approach. Short-term relief is needed, but long-term, the industry must innovate, market smarter, and push for better trade deals. Simply producing more milk isn't enough. The US dairy sector must become more agile and unified to compete globally. The world has changed, and the industry must change with it. The path forward demands strategy, not just scale. Solutions are emerging on several fronts. Dairy cooperatives are boosting production of storable products like cheese and butter, a temporary fix. There's a push for the government to buy surplus dairy for food banks and schools, helping both farmers and families in need. Innovation is key. The industry is developing new, high-value ingredients and products for changing tastes at home and abroad. Artisanal cheeses, yogurt drinks for Asia, and specialized milk proteins are all in the mix. The goal: move from bulk commodity to high-margin, specialized products. Strengthening trade relationships is critical. Industry groups urge new trade deals and the removal of tariffs. The U.S. Dairy Export Council is working to rebuild trust and open new markets. Some farmers are even considering voluntary supply management to avoid chronic oversupply and price crashes. The willingness to consider bold changes shows just how serious the crisis has become. America's dairy crisis is complex with no easy fix. It demands action from farmers, policymakers, and industry leaders alike. Immediate relief is needed: financial safety nets, mental health support, and using surplus to fight hunger. Washington must prioritize trade, breaking down barriers, and securing fair access for U.S. products. The industry must innovate, producing smarter, not just more. Sustainable practices, new products, and a unified message of American quality are essential. Collaboration across dairy supply chain is key. This is a moment for cooperation, not retreat. The future of American dairy and global food security depends on bold, united action. Let's ensure the legacy of America's dairy farms is one of renewal, not decline.